think we have a quorum. I'm counting noses. We have Bill. I don't see, oh, there's Jim. He doesn't have his picture on. So we do have everybody. And are you ready, Lou? We'll call the meeting to order then. I'll ask Lou to note roll call. We have a few announcements for the meeting. One, we had some exciting news today that Steve called and shared with me. The Dane County has, as of June 2nd, lifted the mask order and the distancing order. There's going to be no more orders. So I'm thinking, I mean, we can vote on it during the board meeting, but I'm thinking we probably, not the first meeting because that's June 1st, but the second meeting of June, we could probably be back in person. So we're all happy about that. Secondly, just to note, we are moving item 5.4, Housing and Neighborhood Plan, to June 1st. It's important that Mark Roffers be able to be here for the whole, not only presenting it, but the discussion and hearing the remarks, and he'll be able to be here with us for June 1st. So that item is being moved. And I think that's all I need to announce before we continue with our agenda. Any other announcements from anyone else? If not, Steve.
Yes, so if I can add to that comp plan discussion moving. So there was some information being shared around the public of, why this was changing, as Jane mentioned. We just wanted to make sure Mark was there. We want to be fully transparent that this happens in a village board meeting, not necessarily a COW, because we've been challenged with that a little bit. So we just want to make sure it's out there. And I assured an individual that had been making comments that the board will not be taking action June 1st. So this isn't a slam dunk, let's move it through. I will run its course as normal. And so there was a pretty good dialogue with some people in the community about what this is really about.
Thank you, Steve. Any other comments, announcements? If not, we will continue with our agenda. Minutes from the 5/4/21 Committee of the Whole meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Bill.
Is there a second?
Second by Jim Simpson.
Thank you. Any further discussion, comments, corrections? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Moving on to section 5.1, building permit report. Brandy, you're on.
Hello.
Hi.
So I will just do a little bit of an overview of the building permit report and why we presented to the village board for those of you that are new to the board. So every quarter, I put together this report so you can kind of see what's happening as far as development within the village regarding the new construction for a single family, duplex, and multifamily. And then it also covers new construction and any addition or remodels to commercial properties within the village. The items that are listed on the building permit itself include the total of units per quarter. Lou, do you have that to share on the screen? There we go. There it is. So it shows the typical amount of units that are built per quarter, broken down in all of those categories that I explained before, and the total estimated value that's added for the village as far as improvements go. We track this, I typically do for 5 years, so you can see a 5-year history of kind of the ebbs and flows of building. It also does track the number of available and approved single-family, multifamily, duplex totals for each subdivision. So the chart on the bottom left shows, like, for example, for Conservancy Place, the entire development. This shows what was improved for single family or multifamily lots for the entire development. That does not mean that all of those are ready to be built upon. That's just what they were approved for as far as their platting and things go. To the right is a little tracking box for current lots that are available for sale and to be improved in each development throughout the village. And then the last chart on the bottom just shows what the improvement is broken down by the TID districts, the tax and incremental finance districts, just showing what the improved value is in those areas for residential versus commercial. So that just gives you a little overview of kind of what the building permit report is about. And it gives you an idea of, as we move throughout the year, how we're progressing as a village in meeting, the comp plan initiatives that we have, the goals we have set, where our developments are enhanced and where they're not enhanced. Through the 5-year total, you can see under the single family residential, this quarter, which would be the first quarter for 2021, we've already had approved 30 building permits for single family homes to equal an estimated value of $9.8 million there. Duplexes, we haven't had any approved for the first quarter. We do have some that'll be coming through on the second quarter report. And multifamily, we don't have any of that approved for building permitting at this point. And then the commercial, right now, we just have 2 projects that had happened. Neither of them were new builds. One was an addition and one was a remodel improvement. What you'll see as we move through the year is how the development that we're kind of working through and approving now, those permits will eventually be added on as they get their permits throughout the year. On the second page, thank you, Lou, is just a comparison graph-wise, more of a visual kind of friendly type of what the total cost of construction estimated values are. And then the third page is just a view, visual view of the number of units, just in a graph chart in that aspect. So that is the building permit report for the first quarter. I'm excited actually to get past the first quarter so you guys can see the second quarter, because our single family total with what we have so far in the second quarter already exceeds the single family total from last year. So.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. Are there any questions, Bill?
Yeah, Brandy, I just drove through Heritage Gardens. There's very few lots that don't have foundations on them. Park Crossing is full. I drove through there yesterday. What's going to happen? I mean, these roads have dead ends. What's the future plans for Heritage Gardens? Are we going to be caught short on lots? If there isn't a road in front of it, you can't sell the house. What's the outlook for Heritage Gardens for next year, say?
Yeah, so for example, we'll use Heritage Gardens because that one has grown in phases a lot along the way. And typically what happens is, you're right, you cannot build a house if there's no improved road to get to the house. And so the way that it works throughout Heritage Gardens is the developer has all of the lots available and for sale. A builder or some other developer may come in and buy a chunk of lots. And then when they purchase that chunk of lots, the developer is responsible for extending the road to gain access to those lots in order to build on. So for example, right now we're almost finished with phase 3E. So we would move in when they're ready to move forward and develop more lots. We'll move into phase 4, and somebody may come in and buy, we're just going to throw out there 15 lots. If those 15 lots are purchased, then the developer knows that the road actually has to be extended to have interconnectivity in there. And so it just goes in phases that on that route.
But what's your feeling at? Is it gonna happen next year? Because, go ahead.
I think that we'll probably see some, potential for the fourth phase to happen yet this year.
Oh, okay. Because I see Fox Hill, I see we're gonna approve the road and that's another 36 lots. Little Creek wanted to start building this spring and that isn't happening. I just kind of wonder if we're gonna be kind of shorthanded for available lots next year besides, say, Conservancy Place or Savannah Brooks. Of course, there's lots there. We got to have the lots. I know the economic future is kind of up in the air, but I was just wondering that it's nice to see foundations on all the lots. I know they aren't sold per se, there's some specs, but we need to keep up the plan.
Right.
So house lots are available.
There are some available, and that's definitely something to keep in mind, especially as we're going through the comprehensive plan, to establish, neighborhoods and things like that for future build.
Good, thanks.
Abby?
Guys try to do is raise my hand, but I don't know, that might be a hand clap. I'm not sure, but
It
Just
worked.
clapping for me.
yeah. Just had a question about the little table at the very bottom of page 1. I don't know if you know off the top of your head, Brandy, but I was wondering what the improvements were, like what the businesses were in TID 3 and TID 9 for commercial development.
Oh boy, I didn't know it off the top of my head, and now that you asked me, I totally spaced it. One was for the Evco building addition.
Okay, yeah.
Then, oh goodness, I'm drawing a blank on the other one. I can get that information, Abby, and send it over to you.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah,
Three.
sorry about that.
TID 3?
I would note that there is so much stuff going on, Brandy. I'm surprised that you can keep track of any of it. So,
I know.
okay. Any other questions on the building permit report? If not, thank you, Brandy. This is helpful information for giving us a sense for where we are in the village.
Good, thank you.
The next item is an update on the first tournament at the DeForest Athletic Complex. Woohoo, Reese.
Yes, so we had our first tournament out at the athletic complex this last weekend. It was hosted by the Rock Sports Group, which is based out of the Milwaukee area, and they were phenomenal. They were a great group to work with. It was 14 teams, which was kind of nice for us. It allowed us to kind of settle in and see what it was like to have that many teams out at the complex and how concessions would work. And we almost ran out of a bunch of our food on Saturday. I had to make a last minute Costco run to stock up for Sunday so we could be prepared. So even more thankful that we didn't have a very large tournament for our first weekend. But the Parks and Public Works crew were amazing to get the field set up on Thursday and Friday. And our groundskeeper, who is one of our park staff over the weekend, did just a beautiful job keeping the diamonds looking really nice. The tournament group is very excited to be coming back the first weekend in June and actually have 30 teams for that tournament. So things are really going to be picking up out there. We have GRB this weekend that's going to be having 26 teams on Saturday and Sunday. So things are going out there. All the adult leagues have started. So just kind of wanted to share the excitement that we've all been waiting for so long to actually see this thing up and running.
How wonderful. How wonderful. And congratulations to your staff for doing such a good job. That's great. Thank you. All right. Are there any questions for Reese? Bill? You're muted, Bill.
Just a quick question for Reese. When's the Wi-Fi going to be turned on to the public?
It is.
Oh, it is?
It is available out there. So I
Well, I
actually,
was out there the other day and it was locked, so.
Oh, so we have a password and we'll get that posted. It's going to change on I believe a weekly basis. Well, I know Lou is making a face. Maybe it'll be, we'll have to kind of just figure out what's the best method for that, but we'll get it posted out there. I know I shared it with the tournament groups that were out there this weekend so that they had access to it.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move on with Reese to the splash pad at Fireman's Park.
I get to have all the exciting things, so it's fun to share the good news. We, as everyone has hopefully seen, the splash pad is coming along great. I know Judd has been able to provide some great updates on that, and we're excited to announce that we'll be doing a splash pad grand opening on at our first Friday Flick on Friday, June 11th. So we'll start our event starts at 5:30. We'll do a ribbon cutting and an official, hit the button first time, have the water flow out of it event for that night. So we're pretty excited to be doing it that evening. We wanted to share the information with you all first. Hope that you can all make it. And then we'll be sending out information to the public so that they know that the grand opening is on that evening. So
What's the date?
Friday, June 11th.
Okay. And all the construction is on target?
Yeah, so they're actually ahead of schedule, which has been very exciting. We're doing a training this Friday to actually see how the features and everything work. So it's going well. I think Judd's got something to add.
I was just saying the landscapers are laying sod around there. They've graded it to within the 1 inch, and the landscapers are doing their work. It's sealed up. Plumbing is getting installed, so it's ready to go. We need somebody to volunteer to dress in the Maui suit and run through the sprinklers first.
Abby, you had your hand up.
Oh, I was just gonna ask when people can start using it, but it sounds like any day now, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll get dressed and go down there and run through the sprinkler. So, all right, guys. The next item, 5.4, is moved to June 1. We'll move on to 5.5. And this is the initial presentation and discussion of the economic development chapter in the comprehensive plan by Michelle. Where are you? There you are.
Hi, good evening, everyone. The Economic Development chapter of the Comp Plan Update is the first chapter in the process of updating the plan. We have been working on the chapter since October of 2020. Actually, it started with our business walk survey. It helped inform the chapter. We also, in December and April, had 2 community meetings for resident input. And we held a business roundtable in February to help shape the chapter as well. So tonight is just the first opportunity for the village board to ask questions and to provide input on this chapter. You will not be asked to approve or endorse this chapter until you've had time to give feedback and have time to help shape the chapter. So you've had a few days to review the draft chapter. And Lou, do you want me to share my screen, or did you want to? Okay, I'll go ahead and share my screen here. And I have the chapter right here. Let me make it a little bit smaller so you can see. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so you've had a few days. So I'll just briefly review the information with you, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions and comments to help inform and shape the chapter. So I'll go ahead and start, and really just with the goal. And what really sets this whole chapter up is that goal there on the top right, that businesses and people choose DeForest to be a part of Greater Madison, yet a place apart. Enhancing DeForest as a place where people want to run a business, work, visit, and live will increase business opportunities and choice, jobs, and tax base. So that really sets up the whole chapter. There's a lot in economic development that's not going to change from years to years, because you're always going to want to do some of the main things that we talk about in the initiatives, like attract new businesses in diverse industries, which is the first initiative. Also provide and assist existing businesses in DeForest, always going to want to do that. The next two initiatives are a little bit, I have a little bit of a twist there. And that is kind of what are the other opportunities to brand and market DeForest and bring, like I talk about in the goal and we set up there, is bring people to DeForest. So whether they're working, visiting, living, how are people going to be in the place that we want them to be in DeForest. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that there, and as well as in the last initiative, which is advancing redevelopment in the downtown and other targeted sites. And wanted to point out there that in the previous or the existing comprehensive plan from 2015, we have a separate chapter for downtown development. And we decided that it would be a good idea to integrate it into the overall strategy rather than have it separate and apart. It's really part of the whole, what we want to do with economic development. And again, just highlight that is where we want to drive people and where we want to drive activity. So as part of with the CDA being created and me being involved in that, it made sense to us to make that into a part of the overall strategy. And so it certainly wanted to make that point that it wasn't to say it's less than, it's actually more than. And so we want to make sure that that is part of an integration into the whole strategy. So on the second page here, and I'll make it a little bit bigger now. The second page here is objectives and policies. And really this is what do we want our objectives to be? We want to do things like have a business friendly environment. We want to market DeForest for businesses and other economic activity. And we want to focus on development and redevelopment. There's some policies there, and I'll just highlight those. Some of those. And one is talking about growth, and Trustee Landgraf kind of talked about that in our last building permit report on how important home development and residential development is. And really that gear graph to the right at the bottom showing residential growth is really the catalyst for office and industrial and retail and tourism growth. So really showing that that is super important, and they all really work together. So we want to foster residential growth as well as industrial and office and retail and tourism. And we want to promote balanced development among residential, commercial, and industrial types. So going to the next page, this is all about balanced growth and how in DeForest, really a long time goal of DeForest, as you can see here, has been balanced growth, especially among the different types of industries and the bunch of types of growth that have happened in DeForest. So you see there on figure 2.2, really the valuation, this is by equalized value. So the valuation changes categories in DeForest. So you see there, the blue line is residential, red is commercial, green is manufacturing, and then purple is other, which is agricultural growth and things like that, is that we really have had pretty steady growth in all of those three categories. But you can see residential is a little bit declining as part of our growth. So I think that would surprise people. That they would think, well, it seems like there's lots of residential growth. It's actually not as big a part of our growth as people think. So then that next figure 2.3 down there really compares that last year, January 1st of 2020 in DeForest. Then we took 5 comparable communities that are the same in size in Greater Madison, and then Madison. And again, same colors, really showing the kind of growth that's balanced. And DeForest has a very balanced growth in terms of commercial and residential and manufacturing. You can see the comparable communities are a little bit less so, more in the single family. And then you can see there or residential, I should say. And then Madison, we're close to Madison. So that is very good to see that commercial growth. And we want to continue that commercial growth, but we really want to be balanced. And part of that, understanding that balance is understanding the tax incremental districts. And so I included a map that I know is kind of Interesting, I got a request for it today actually from a trustee. And so this basically is our TID map. And I'm going to decrease it just a bit. I know it's hard to see, but it is in your printed copy, and I'd be glad to share it with anyone who needs it. It is in the packet. This really just talks about all of the 8 active TIDs that we have right now. And why that's important is that they each have a plan for projected for growth. And so you can see they're the types of growth that each one, and I won't go TID by TID, but each one has a project plan that really shows us what kind of growth in the area is there. And now those TID plans are approved specifically. And so that's a lot of where our growth occurs, especially our commercial growth. So just wanted to make that a main part of this chapter. And then I'll just go into the initiatives briefly and talk about attracting new businesses. That's the most exciting part of economic development that everybody sees, is what new businesses are coming to town and what's happening. And so this is really just, how do we do that? So we went over this in the community engagement event that we had in December, kind of showing how does economic development work? Why do new businesses choose to come to DeForest? Why do they choose to come here or other locations? And so we're putting there kind of our strengths and opportunities there. Obviously, we've got a proximity and connectivity to Greater Madison and other communications. We're well situated along interstates. Certainly the connectivity and access is important. And again, always remembering that we're close to Madison, but a place apart. So that balanced growth and how do we do that, and really going forward with those TID plans and pursuing growth in those specific areas. So down at figure 2.4, that's really just a graph that shows who are the decision makers, who do we talk to? And that is site selection consultants, specific business leaders, real estate representatives, industry associations, and human resources directors. And I think that's kind of interesting to folks, is that they are a primary target for companies, because the number one thing that they want to know is, can I get the workers? And can I get the customers? So it's really, can I get the workers? And that really shapes a lot of what we're going to talk about here. The partners, they're obviously the state agency, which is called WEDC, and that's the Economic Development Agency. That's what we call the first door to economic development in Wisconsin. They kind of say they hold the purse, is what a lot of people say, is that they're the main door, and that's kind of where a lot of incentives lie and things like that. So that's pretty much the first stop. So into the Regional Economic Development Partnership, which is called MADREP as well, but educational institutions, again, for that workforce. We work with Madison College, we work with UW, existing businesses. It's funny that business attraction is kind of the most exciting for people, but most of our activity actually comes from existing businesses and their supply chains and other, them expanding. So I'll go into that in the next chapter. But in landowners, we have to work with them. They're partners. Landowners and developers are partners in making sure that we have the kind of growth that we want. And then methods. Marketing and advertising, events, relationship development, direct outreach, and familiarization tours. So this is really just kind of an informational piece on how we do that. These are industries that we go for. There's 8. It might seem like a lot, but really what this is industries that we have a foothold in DeForest and Greater Madison, but also ones that we're well equipped to pursue into the future and that are doing well now. So that's just a list of all of the industries that not only the state of Wisconsin and the region of Madison are in a great place to attract, but so is DeForest. Then the next one is really about promoting and assisting DeForest businesses. Again, how do we do that? So that graphic there at the bottom really talks about what are the challenges facing businesses, and we learned that hiring and staffing is number one. Client-based development. This all comes from the survey that we did in October. Marketing and advertising. They have housing and transportation challenges. Where do the workers and the where do they live and how do they get to the area? And then lack of funding opportunities with COVID-19. So then the other side is how are we helping? So I got a lot of feedback that focusing on more growth helps our businesses because it keeps them full of workers and full of customers. So focusing on growth is important to our existing businesses as well as to bring new ones in. I love local programming and events are very popular with our businesses, and we're going to be even enhancing that even more in their involvement in our Love Local programming and events that we have. You've probably seen them on Facebook. Social media is really gathering kind of a sense of place for DeForest. And then partnering with our state and regional entities to help get workforce and do solutions, and then researching and promoting funding opportunities during the pandemic. The next initiative, this is the third that I kind of talked about, a twist, is, you know, how do we bring more people to DeForest? So it's not just about the bricks and mortar and having new businesses here. There's also things about bringing tourism, bringing events like we're doing, like Reese was talking about with the tournaments, really being able to give our businesses customers, our restaurants. And we did do an outreach to them before this first tournament, and they were very excited. And so we'll give you an update next time about how these tournaments have helped them in the last few weeks. But talking about placemaking, you know, that is something that's a trend in economic development, and it's really what makes a place somewhere that people want to go. And I think we've done a great job in DeForest of having people come to Fireman's Park, doing events, and really it's talking about how do we kind of coalesce that and what are different events that we can do to bring people downtown. So it talks about maybe a public art contest. That's something we've talked about, but it's all things, none of these are things that are set in stone, but they're all about things of making downtown and making DeForest a place where people want to be to live, work, and play. So I talked about sports and leisure tourism. The parks and the trails are probably one of the best things that people know about DeForest. And I think that has an economic impact. I think we all know that, but I think that's really highlighting those to businesses and highlighting those to workers and people is really going to be important. Then community signage. How do we brand our community? How do we market it? We're starting to do that, or you can see that we've done that with some of the signs there that you can see on V and other ones in the past. We're going to be working on 3 more in the next couple of a year and a half or years here. And one is along Highway 19 near the entryway to DeForest on County V. Let's see. Let me replace that. One is the southern entry to DeForest on 51. That's going to be exciting to kind of mark the southern entry. So we're working on those kind of village signs to mark and to welcome people to DeForest. And then the final initiative is talking about redevelopment in downtown and other targeted sites. And this really is part of what the comprehensive plan survey showed strong interest. And I know from you as policymakers on the village board, but also from the residents, very big interest in enhancing downtown. So I think that's perfect timing with the creation of the Community Development Authority, or the CDA, to really enhance those redevelopment areas with residential and commercial. And we know before that residential really drives commercial. So there's going to be growth in downtown DeForest, and some of the redevelopment areas is going to include some residential to feed the commercial businesses that we have here. So talking about the CDA, what are the benefits for DeForest? Why is this important? Talking about creating a coordinated approach to both housing and redevelopment opportunities. It allows us to be involved more in mixed use developments, is really going to provide a mechanism for private sector engagement and community development, a little bit more of that. and to leverage landowner interest in redevelopment areas. So we have a lot of landowners that actually approach us and say, what are you interested in doing with my land? And so it's much more that side than us approaching them. But there are certainly landowners that are interested. And so we've talked to some of them. So that'll be really good in the future. And you'll see here this quote from the community survey response that says, it's a little hard to read on this, but it says, good progress lately, would like to see more focus on rebuilding a real downtown area with amenities like retail, restaurant, housing, activities that are made. I grew up here, I went to school here, and I just recently moved back after 25 years away. I always loved DeForest, but think it is even better now. So that was a great comment, but really think we can get really enhance it even more, and excited to work on that with the village board and the CDA. And we'll talk a little bit about redevelopment planning in at our next village board meeting on June 1st. And just the last page here, talking more about the CDA and then what it really looks like to do a redevelopment plan, how it really works, what the support for downtown redevelopment, revitalization is. And then, you know, as kind of to wrap up the whole thing, as we described earlier in the chapter, the economic development vision for DeForest is to enhance and market the community as a place where people want to be. So it's really all about that. We need people to work in our businesses, to shop in our stores, and to live in our homes. And so that is what economic development is all about. So that is really the review of the chapter, and I'd love to have any questions or comments. There's lots of opportunity to shape this chapter. So thanks for giving me a chance to present it.
Thank you, Michelle. I know that, you know, these pages just hold a lot of information. I have watched as Michelle has and participated, gone through surveying, talked to business owners, worked closely with other entities in our community. So this took a lot of effort to put together and a lot of input from across the community. So thank you for that, Michelle. I know it takes a lot of dedication. I would open this up to questions from the board at this point. Rebecca?
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. I really appreciated this. This was a really good presentation. And I think we're on the right track with this. I did have a question in terms of, you said we had some input from the community. How much actual input have we had so far from the community in terms of what they're wanting to see actually happen with that downtown?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we've had lots of opportunities for input. So we had, again, the comprehensive plan survey and kind of what that said. And we took off, you know, what people want to see. And, you know, what people really want to see are amenities and things like restaurants and activities downtown, things like that. And so we spent really that whole community update in December, kind of saying, how does that work? We need, you know, people to be in the restaurants and to make sure that happens. And so that's kind of what informed this chapter. So I think, you know, we had minimal participation in those. But I've also reached out to different groups through Facebook and things like that, through our social media, to get people interested and to get them to give me comments. And so I have gotten a few just comments that people that, you know, were interested in seeing and things. So it has been minimal at this point, but I invite all of it, because I think that's what makes this plan work, is that
yeah. I'm wondering, I know we had that survey last year that was kind of a much more broad survey in terms of the overall comprehensive plan. I'm wondering if it might be a good idea, because we did have some pretty good response from that, if we did a very targeted survey for specifically that downtown area to get some really good feedback, with some targeted questioning, and then maybe one open-ended question. But to really because some people don't necessarily always want, for whatever reason, they don't always show up. They're not paying attention, whatever the reason might be. They're not always really good about coming to meetings, but it seems like we had really good response to that survey. And I'm wondering if that might be a good idea. I don't know. I'm just posing the question.
Yeah, I think it's always a good idea. If you want my opinion, if you're asking, I think it's always a good idea to do that. And to ask specific questions about, with also understanding that it's helping to inform what we're doing and what we're pursuing. Not that it's absolutely, if you request it, it'll come, because that's not always true, but what we're working toward and how we get there. I think not only, Trustee Witherspoon, does that give people an opportunity to give input, it also gives them an opportunity to learn about how these things happen.
Yeah. I mean, if we want this to be a go-to destination, we need to know what the people want to go to.
Good point.
I know we struggled with getting people to come to some of the meetings, but the group that seemed to participate really well on housing and on this, and you might want to talk about it, is the business community. And in fact, sitting in on a couple of those meetings, I was very pleased with business folks who said, we like being asked. Other communities don't ask us, and this is an important activity for us to have input into. So,
sure. Just a quick on that, if I might. We had some businesses that indicated in the survey that we did in October that they would be interested in getting together with other businesses and with the village to help get solutions for challenges. And so we've had great interaction with the businesses. So I'll say the business community, very responsive to this and very responsive to what their workers want and what they want as well. So that's been very helpful. And so on the resident front, it is a little bit of a challenge to get them excited until there's a project that they, specific, but we should always be working on it.
Great, thank you. Are there other questions? Abby?
Piggybacking on what Rebecca just said, do we have any more community input sessions scheduled or coming up?
Not for economic development. We do I think we're going to do that for other chapters that come up. For economic development, we did 2 resident opportunities. So we don't have any others in the plan.
So there are more input sessions, but for other chapters, is that what you said?
Yes.
Oh,
There
okay.
will be at some point. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'll keep my eye out for those because I want to try and help with the advertising of that. And regarding this chapter, I was really happy to see different things in there that I totally agree with, like development in diverse industries. We've seen in other communities where, they've kind of focused their whole community around a certain industry, and that industry, for whatever reason, struggles or collapses, and then the whole community struggles. And so I think that's good to have a diverse array of industries, to help protect the community with that. And also, helping and promoting existing businesses. They already have been here. They have great track records. Usually it takes less energy, time, and money to keep them and help them when they want to grow. And then also, redevelopment of downtown area, as well as, I think it was mentioned in there, aging or underutilized sites. I think that might be, I'm glad we have the Community Development Authority, because that might be a really, really big part of how we grow in the future, especially like thinking how residents really want us to keep our small town feel. And also the fact that we, can't or shouldn't constantly, expand in the future. There's limits, so that's another reason to look at, where there are already existing sites that we can redevelop. I do have one big question, and it's regarding the brand, let's see if I can find it, the part of Greater Madison, yet a place apart. Is that to take the place of Growing the Good Life, or is that a supplement to it? How does that work?
Oh, no, it's not at all gonna take the, that. It's kind of a part of, it's kind of a description of growing the good life. So it's kind of, it's growing the good life is a place, that, a part of Madison, but a place apart. So if you look at our website at our main thing, and Corey's on there, she'll know it better than I am, but it's really a descriptor. Growing the good life is our tagline.
Okay, so that's continuing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I guess I feel a little bit better knowing that that's not like our main brand, but I feel a little uncomfortable with that phrasing. I guess I do totally understand and agree with the intent. I guess just the phrasing, like a place apart, makes it, I don't know, brings up some negative things to my mind that I know have nothing to do with why that's included in this chapter. And then some, I think I had a question. Oh, so on page, where is it? There was just I think it's a typo. On page 2.4, towards the bottom, it references figure 2.2, but I think it's supposed to reference 2.4.
I
right?
noticed that as I was going through it as well. My apologies. As I was reviewing it on the screen, I thought, oh, so my apologies. I will change that. Thank you.
Yeah, no big deal. And then I was wondering, where it talks about promoting residential growth. I know this is, I kind of glanced over the draft of the neighborhoods chapter, but maybe emphasizing like the full spectrum of residential growth, because I know it's touched on there, meeting workforce needs. And I think that's a part of it, that, one of the reasons why we want to provide a spectrum of housing options. Yeah, let me see if there's anything else. I think that's about it. Oh, sorry. And then with the placemaking on page 2-7, where like the parks and trails are mentioned. And this is very much tied to that, but also our environmental assets, like our environmental corridors, wildlife. At the village board meeting, we're approving migratory bird resolution. So the migratory birds, the Tree City USA, I think that's part of our placemaking, and why people come here, because they enjoy those aspects of our community. So
Good points. Let me just add, migratory board sounds kind of attractive at times. Maybe we can migrate someplace good. Another way we'll be able to do some survey work and get input on downtown is with the redevelopment part of the Community Development Authority. And so there are other ways for us to kind of get data and get information that we can compare. So, as we're going forward, and I think you were there, I know Rebecca was at the meeting, and others sat in when we had the presentation on doing a study and for redevelopment with Mark. So there are some other avenues, and I think we have to work to kind of meld all that data as we go forward. So thank you. Anybody else have questions for Michelle on the document? Quiet group tonight. All right.
Luann, can I ask my question now?
Sure. Who is it?
It's Dawn Clemens. I sent a request to Luann to ask a question at the meeting.
Yeah, and usually appearances are at the village board meeting. Is it specifically at on this economic development chapter, Dawn?
Yeah, it is. And that's why I thought maybe I should ask it now, because Michelle has just spoken about everything. But if I have to wait till the village board meeting, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'll follow whatever you say.
Is it a quick question, or is it better?
It is. It is a quick question. I wanted to know what is considered the downtown area. What do we consider? I'm sorry. I guess it's.
Dawn, we're not laughing at you. We're laughing with you, because that's part of what we're trying to do is define it. If you ask 40 people in town, you might get 40 different answers.
Right.
So part of what we're working on is defining that. There's the old traditional downtown, which was kind of Market Street, Commerce Street, Main Street, Olem Street, that kind of, that square. But then it expanded over the years, and you had, the strip malls up by the old Schultz store across from DMV, and you have, the Pick and Save area, and you have, there's just a lot of different areas. So that's a good question, Dawn, and it's one that we are trying hard to find. So we weren't laughing at you.
Yeah.
We know it's a
Oh, that's,
question we need
that's
to
okay.
we need to fix.
We're laughing. Yeah. 'cause
Yeah,
we-
that's okay. I just, I was wondering if downtown revitalization meant all the way from, say, where that the liquor store is on V and Main Street, all the way, beyond Pick and Save to Walgreens. Is that whole area considered downtown? That was my question. And again, I am very sorry if I interrupted.
No, you're fine, Dawn. I have problems with people move around on the screen, and I hear a voice and I'm not seeing the hand, and so I apologize, but I'm glad you asked that question, and it's one that we need to define.
Thank
All
you very
right.
much.
No, thank you, Dawn.
Thank
You're
you.
you're good to always be with us. Let's keep moving forward then. It's 9 more minutes. So Steve, do you have anything for administration and finance update?
Sure, I just want to let the board know that we, a few of us are tracking the ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act. It continues to evolve. There's some more guidance out there from the Treasury Department. They've also restructured how much communities are getting. They somehow are tying it to unemployment numbers, and unfortunately or fortunately, Wisconsin's doing quite well. And so we're going to be cut in funding. We just don't know how that impacts the forest at this time, but we'll keep an eye on that. There's a bit more guidance on what we spend it on, but not enough, I think, to really formulate a plan. So we're not, ignoring it. We're just waiting for it to mature a little bit, and then we'll bring some things to the board at that time.
Great.
One other point, as Jane mentioned, we are crazy busy here, and I want to thank all the department heads and staff that are really working hard to make sure that we are providing the service we like to do. Reese mentioned her activities. She's super busy trying to please the public on some new things. And again, everybody's just doing a great job. So I wanted to shout out to those folks.
Excuse me. Thank you, Steve. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Chief, do you have anything from the police department?
Yeah, just a couple of quick things. Obviously, the great news of the hopefully coming to the end of the order here in June 2nd means good stuff for us. More opportunity to get out and interact with the community. So you may have seen a couple of the events posted. Obviously, our Family Fun Night in September is out there now. We've kind of picked a date. If it was the 14th of September for that. Plus a couple of the youth opportunities with CSI in the park. We're working with Reese in the public in the parks to get that out. We actually filled up one session, had to open another one, which is really good for us and for the parks and Rex folks as well. And then for the first time, kind of one of the newer things that we're doing, one of the newer things actually in the county is this youth academy concept with a 4 hours for targeting middle school, high school age kids to kind of learn a little bit about what policing is in the summertime. We had to bump it back a week because it interfered with summer school, but there's not a lot of other places that are doing it. So we're excited to see how that goes. Andy Freeman has been working real hard on that as our school resource officer. So we're looking forward to getting back out and being able to actually talk to people mask free and interacting with people. So that's about what I got for now. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Bill? You're muted.
Two quick questions. How's the body cam, squad car cams going?
They're going well. I plan in the future meeting to hopefully have some video that we can show you what it looks like and some of the benefits. Just trying to get enough captured that we can get stuff that's not sensitive in nature.
Good. Also, through the grapevine, there was talk of a electric scooter incident on the trails with injuries. Are you aware of that Sunday night?
I know that there was a incident of an injury, but I don't have a lot of details on it. It was a medical call. I
I
know
think,
that the markers that were out there, I believe Greg heard it on the pager, were actually used to help locate somebody. So, which is a
Good.
good thing.
That helped. Thanks.
Greg was informed us about that. Do you want to just say a little bit about the colored markers and how that worked?
Well, the only thing I know is that the resident that called in the 911 call used the markers, called in, like, is on Western Green Trail. They called in orange 3, which is basically towards River Road, but like in the middle between Trailside Drive and River Road. So it would have taken a while for EMS to locate that person without these markers. So it really cuts time down. And the resident used it perfectly. So
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
that was a great idea. Whoever thought of that. Hats off to them.
Great. All right, I'm going to move us along because we only have 4 minutes before we're going to go to our board meeting. Michelle, did you have, or no, let's start with Judd and Greg, public service update. Do you guys have anything to add?
Sure, I'll just briefly go as fast as I can. Crack filling and chip sealing's all been done for the year. They're cleaning up some of the streets with the chip sealing, right? I saw them out late this afternoon. Conservancy Park shelter is stained and painted, and it's what a difference it makes with a coat of paint and some stain. They really pop. And as well as Trailside Drive, we stained that one. Old Indian to Pocahontas has a binder coat on it. I think I got that right. If not, correct me.
It's done. Pocahontas and Old Indian are
That's
complete.
it. Pocahontas and Old Indian are done completely. So Seminole has, and Iroquois have the binder coat on them. That's from Mohawk to Lexington, and then from Lexington to Old Indian, they'll get the binder coat in about 2 weeks. To Lexington, we have to get the curb and gutter in. That should go in next week, weather dependent. And then we're also working with Windsor on Gray Road starting tomorrow. We're going to be putting in the culvert and doing that section. So busy, guys, and it's National Public Works Week for all of our guys, and I appreciate each and every one of them for all the hard work they do, and they deserve hats off for providing all the services they do.
Thank you. All right, good work. Thanks.
Just
Michelle?
a quick comment. Yeah, they chip seal my street. They also filled the cracks, and I was very impressed at both companies that did that. The chip sealing was more than I ever thought. It was done fast, and they swept it up today, and I'm very impressed. And I think they did a good job. Thanks.
Pass
you.
along. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, continuing on. Michelle, do you have anything else you need to add?
No, thank you.
Is Corey on? Do you have anything with community promotions or communications?
No, nothing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Reese, do you have additional information for recreation and community enrichment?
Yep, just quickly going to share that the farmers market, hard to believe it's starting in 2 weeks. So that will be on the closed portion of DeForest Street again. And we have, it sounds like a really great lineup of vendors. So we're excited to be getting that started up. And I'll be sending more detailed information about how program registrations are going for over the summer because they're going quite well. So I'll get that more detailed out to the board.
And is farmers market going to be on Tuesdays again?
Correct. Yep. We did shift the time a little bit. We'd received some comments in the past about people having a hard time getting back from work. So now it's 3:30 to 6:30 rather than 3 to 6.
Great. Wonderful. All right. Moving on. We don't have a closed session, so we don't have to reconvene into open session. So I would, unless there's other business to come before this body, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
We have a second?
Second, Bill.
Yes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll take a 2-minute break. All right, are we all back? It looks like we are. Are you ready, Lou? Good, good. With that, we'll call the meeting to order, and I would ask Lou to note roll call. I would ask Colleen to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Any announcements anyone has that we didn't have at the committee of the whole? If not, we will continue to the consent agenda. Does anybody want the consent agenda separated? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Abby, second.
And we have a second. Any discussion, comments, or questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Greg Hall is either saying a long Pledge of Allegiance or he's frozen. I haven't quite figured it out. Moving forward, appearances before the, I want to suggest a motion to suspend to the rules and go to 10.3. Is there a motion? It's Jason's resolution. Then if he doesn't want to sit through the whole thing, he doesn't have
I
to.
make a motion to move to 10.3.
Is there a
Bill?
second?
I second it.
We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's go to 10.3. I have to get it up on my screen here. Well, Jason, you have been with us for so long that we're going to look for many ways to say thank you and then new ways to use your services and skills. So Resolution 2021-051 is a resolution to thank you, Jason, for your years of service to the Village of DeForest. States that whereas the village board recognizes the hard work, commitment, and exemplary service Jason Kramer has offered to the Village of DeForest as a member of the DeForest Board of Trustees, and whereas village trustees and staff recognize and appreciate Mr. Kramer's dedication, diligence, and dependability, and whereas while serving with distinction, Mr. Kramer has been an integral part of approval of TIF plans and negotiation of numerous development and business agreements with the intention of positioning the village for future growth opportunities. And whereas Trustee Kramer's involvement with comprehensive plan and park and open space plan updates help to ensure thoughtful and deliberate future village growth. And whereas during Trustee Kramer's tenure on the village board, he has served on many committees, commissions, and boards, including the DeForest Area Community and Senior Center, Planning and Zoning Commission, Housing Authority, and Community Development Authority, among others. And whereas the Village of DeForest Board wishes to express its sincere appreciation to Mr. Kramer for his dedication and for the service he provided to the residents of the community. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of DeForest Board of Trustees, on its own behalf and on behalf of the staff and residents of the Village of DeForest, thanks Jason Kramer for his exemplary service to the village and presents this plaque in commemoration. So Jason, we just don't know how to say thank you. And we offer our hand and our appreciation. And we do want you to come back for cake and food and hugs and handshakes. So I would entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you,
I'll be
Jim.
honored to make the motion.
I'll second, Bill.
We have a motion by Jim and a second by Bill. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Jason. Lou will deliver the plaque to you at some point, or you can come on the 14th and we'll make sure that it comes with food.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks very much. It's humbling, and it was a great run. It really was. And you all have much to do. So I appreciate you all stepping up to serve. It is a very small segment of the population that's willing to do what all of you and I have done in these last several years. So thanks to you. Yes, I'll keep an eye on y'all, but I will do my best to not speak unless spoken to.
Well,
but I look
there are
forward
things
to it.
that we'll need to reach out and ask you about. So we appreciate
Happy
your
to.
willingness.
Yeah, thanks again, everybody. And I can't exemplify all of staff enough. It was probably very difficult to make me look good, but you all made it very, very easy. I mean, so without all of you kind of on the back side of things, making things manageable for us in the seats that you all sit in, I don't want to discount that. That was tremendous. Probably helped my longevity a little bit. Because yeah, it's a lot of work and definitely, but you guys all made it a wonderful ride. So thanks again. And my fellow trustees, we don't always have to disagree on or agree on everything or anything, but I truly value your opinions and comments through the years. So thanks much.
Thank you. All right. We appreciate it, Jason. All right. With that, we'll move on to appearances before the board. Dawn has already appeared, so we'll move from that one. There were 4 people who wanted to register but not appear. We have Deb Modeth from 809 Acker Parkway, Jan Steffenhagen from 805 Acker Parkway, Jan Pettit, 7740 Stonecrop Way, and Dan Pettit, 7740 Stonecrop Way. They were appearing on the comp plan for housing, which we're going to take up on June 1st, and they were citing concern about design criteria for higher density housing. With that, I think the next appearance is for the DeForest Area Chamber of Commerce requesting funds for 4th of July celebration. Heike, are you on? You're muted.
Muting myself. Yep, I am here. Thanks for having me.
Go ahead, Heike.
Well, the wonderful news from public health that they're lifting all the mask mandates and everything is very exciting and a relief because I didn't know how I was going to enforce that. So excited to be planning our 4th of July celebration. You have all of the forms that I filled in. If you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me and ask away. We're going to do a weekend, so we'll see how that goes. Friday night's going to be kind of mellow. We're starting out at 6 o'clock with a kickball tournament, and then Crosstown Drive is going to perform in the music arena at the band shell from 7:30 to 10:30, and hopefully we can close down by 11:30 and get a good night's sleep before Saturday. Saturday we'll kick off the event at noon with lots of fun activity booths and inflatables, pony rides, all cornhole tournaments, and then finish the night with cherry pie, which should be a very good show, as always. Should draw a crowd. Then on Sunday morning, Freedom Run, Joe Parker, Chris Smith are organizing the Freedom Run. They're working on the routes. I gave them the information, Greg, about the one route over by V that road not being open, so they can reroute that. We did have some concerns regarding the parade being on a Sunday morning and interrupting worship services. We do have 3 churches that are on our route, on our parade route. And so rather than moving the date to Saturday, we're just pushing it back till noon start time and lining up still at the high school parking lot. And same route down Halser to Holm to Maine, and then coming back into the park and up Jefferson back to the high school where they'll meet their parents with their younger kids. Working on getting parking at St. Olaf again. So if people need to park their vehicles and then walk over to the parade lineup, we don't have all these cars in the parking lot driving around, dropping their kids off or trying to find a place to park. So very grateful for St. Olaf to allow that. Then opening the park, we'll start that a little bit later, about 12:30. Having all the activity booths, rock wall, caricature artist, working with the Boy Scouts Troop 155 to see if they'll come back with their ring toss and ball toss. And then bingo was moved from the fire station just for sanitary reasons. It costs a lot to sanitize there. So thank you, Greg and Public Works, for allowing us to put bingo in the Public Works building. So we'll have the tables and chairs from the Event Essentials delivered there earlier in the week. And then Relay for Life is going to run the event. So they'll set up the tables and chairs and run the bingo. I'm still, if anybody knows of a good caller, someone who's kind of funny that would like to call the bingo, let me know. Pastor Jerry has retired. So if you know anybody, feel free to give me an email. I'll see if they can call bingo for us. And then we have our family stage entertainment. I let them know about the parade being pushed back, so they were able to adjust their times to go a little bit later into the afternoon. So that worked out. And then the Lions are going to do their raffle announcement at 7. We're gonna have our veterans tribute still at 2 with the high school choir singing the national anthem. And then Super Tuesday is going to play from 7 to 11 and fireworks will go off at dusk. And then hopefully we'll all be back in bed before midnight. All right. So hopefully we look for a very fun weekend. And I think I have our chamber president who's watching Facebook at all the posts from the different bands, how many people are intending to come. So I think we're going to have a good crowd. Everybody's ready to get out and get together.
Thank you. And Heike, how much are you requesting from the village?
So last year the fireworks was able, I paid them a deposit in January of $4,500, and then the following $4,500 would have been due on the 4th of July. He did not he did not deposit the second $4,500, but he did request $1,900 to cover his insurance costs. So I paid him $1,900 in August. I paid him $1,900 to cover his insurance costs. So if you wouldn't mind helping me out with $1,900, otherwise we could split it 50-50. Be open to that.
Okay, all right, so you're looking for 1,900 from the village?
Correct.
That's, okay. All right, questions? Rebecca?
First off, is it Heike or Heike?
Heike. Heike.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's all
Getting
right.
used to some of these names. I just want to say thank you for, I really appreciate the completeness of your application. All those small details, it just made it so easy for me to understand exactly what you were proposing. And I know you've done this a lot, but at the same time, it really makes our job easier too. So you, just out of curiosity, I know you're only requesting the $1,900. Were you able to garner donations and all this stuff for all the rest of that?
The village paid $9,000 to the chamber back in 2020. Yeah, in the early months of 2020. So
Okay.
the sponsorship was taken care of, and the fireworks gentleman, James Krieger, was able to carry it over for us since we didn't get to have the fireworks in 2020.
Awesome. That clears it up for me. Thank you.
Abby, you had your hand up?
Just wondering if we can vote on it tonight or if we have to do it a different time. Didn't know how it worked.
Al, you're shaking your head.
It's just on the agenda under appearances and you can't take action under appearances.
Okay.
So we need to vote on it next time around. Is that what you're saying? So we'll
Yeah.
put it on the agenda to vote next meeting. Bill?
I'm fine with the 1,900. Also like to add money to have a really spectacular show since we didn't have one last year. Is there any way we can up that? Have a couple more big, say, grand finales to make up for it?
I can definitely ask.
Come up with an amount and let's see where it can go with that. Let's have a really spectacular show.
Sounds
All right.
wonderful.
Yeah, come up with some ideas and bring it to the board. I think we'll be open-ended on the amount.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Just note, we need to discuss it.
Yep.
Rebecca, who had their hand up? Someone else had their hand up. All right. If there are no other questions for Heike, we appreciate your appearing and sharing the good news of our upcoming celebration. It'll be good as a community to once again come together.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to old business. We have the economic development chapter on this agenda as well, but I think we've covered it during COW. So unless someone tells me different, we'll keep moving on. New business, discussion regarding 2021 promissory notes. Steve?
Thank you. I am going to share screen here carefully. So let's see. I just want to remind the board of the various projects we had planned to do in our capital improvement plan that was approved in the budget, and some funding sources that we're using in addition to borrowing. I don't know if this is large enough for people to see it or not.
It is.
Okay, so we did the flooring in the police department. Chief's been very happy about that. I think Lou's happy about that. That had been a problem since it was originally constructed. We are still working on video recording system. Greg, I'm not sure where we're at with the heaters in the public works garage. So those are 3 items that are still included in the borrowing. That's how this is set up. This is the original CIP. We've gotten bids in and we're applying some other resources. So here's the borrowing amounts and some things we have to focus on. And then Greg and company did some more research on these library fire shutters. That was going to be a $150,000 item, and found a solution that's much cheaper and is actually in the general fund budget in 2021. So that saves us a great deal of money. We've talked about the park structures in Sunnybrook, Sunfish Pond parking. That's one we need to talk about more, in the splash pad. The splash pad is not in the borrowing, which is great, nor is the Sunnybrook. We're using reserves and impact fee money for that, so that's good. Let's talk a bit about Sunfish Pond. So we had identified $120,000, and with the bids that I think it's in front of us tonight, actually, it's going to be about $50,000 over. That includes some contingency and engineering, so it could come down a little bit from that. I talked to Reese today, and we have money for park improvement fees set aside, collected from the past, and we are comfortable with using that to offset this $50,000 increase in this parking lot. It's always been targeted as probably the next park to improve anyway. It gets a lot of attention. It's a great feature for our community, especially with things happening out in Conservancy. So if you're comfortable with that, I will pull it out of the borrowing and we'll utilize impact fees for that. So I'm just looking for a thumbs up. I got one from Bill already. I'm not seeing everybody, so I apologize. My screen is limited right now. Colleen, I see. Reese, Rebecca, I see. Abby, I see. So I think we got enough. We'll go that route.
Yep.
We'll likely do a budget amendment to make sure that is done properly for that fund. So that's exciting. Let's see, what else do we have in here? The streets we've talked about. We saved some money in bidding and we added some streets, and we're going to use some reserves there too, to capture all that. Then there was the Jefferson Square Street and Gray Road. Those will all happen outside of borrowing, so that's good stuff. So the borrowing itself now is looking to be 3.7 million all in. So that includes all the capital projects we looked at, which would include these numbers mean something to me. But Fund 400 is capital projects. Fund 610 is our water utility. 620 is our sewer. 630 is our stormwater utility. So these are all things you saw before in the CIP. Fund 442 is TIF 2. That was also in the CIP. These would be improvements that TID 2 will contribute toward the Highway 19 reconstruction that will likely occur with the Hooper development to the north. So TID 2 has to share in some of those costs. Fund 445 is TID 5, and that has some projects that'll be happening in the near future. We'll be borrowing for those. And then one we added actually today when I spoke with our financial advisor, we in Fund 447, which is TID 7, back in 2012, we borrowed a significant amount of money to reconstruct Highway 51 and build overpasses and underpasses, the bridges and things like that. We financed a large amount of that with assessments on development property in the area. We've collected most of those assessments. The only one I think remaining is a parcel that the village has rights to, an option. So we don't necessarily think we'll ever collect those if we follow through and develop that parcel, which we have interest in. So what I'm proposing we do then is take the remainder of this 700,000 and amortize it over 7 years at 100,000 a piece. So we're basically refinancing. We'll be paying off the local bank and extending this thing out so that it fits the cash flow of TID 7. So that was always in the plan, but we're just executing it now because interest is so cheap. Borrowing is cheap. Why not wait, or why not do it now and not wait till next year when we don't know what's going to happen? So that's what the borrowing is looking like. No, that's a lot in a hurry here. This is not the night to worry about making that decision. So we'll be in front of you again on this in the next, actually June 1st. And possibly after that, we'll have to see. Questions on this? And then I can get into the other information that was in the packet.
Jim?
Steve, I just wanted to ask, you got the Highway 19 reconstruction. I think you already said that was a percentage that we're paying. And then I also was going to question, there's some Highway V. I don't see it right now. Thought there was like a North Street. Is that a percentage that we're paying too? Guess I'm just a
North
little
Street
bit
is not
curious if
Highway
there's,
V.
what's that?
North Street is not Highway V. There's a section of North Street that is basically a frontage road, I believe. That's the one we're
Yeah.
reading.
Okay.
And then Highway 19, I don't know that there's any state share. You would know better than I. Maybe you need to abstain from even talking about this. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So that is primarily on the developer, Hooper and TID 2, which is really the village at this point in time.
Okay.
making sure those improvements happen because most of that's caused by development.
But those are on 19, not whatever street that is. that
Yeah,
connects.
19 Williamsburg Way. So there'll be
Okay.
merge lanes and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
We just don't know the percentages and the ratios. That Hooper's really leading that charge, and I believe they're doing some public bidding on this. I don't know the time frame on that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay, then something I had in a memo, and then this document was in your packet. So Ellers approached me saying, hey, would you ever consider doing parameters-based sale? And I said, huh? Because we've never been approached on this before. But the more they talk about it, the more it makes sense to me. And Trustee Lowry did ask me some questions on it today. I'm sorry about the look of this. This is from another community, but what the parameter-based sale is really doing is it's saying rather than the way it currently is, the board sets the sale date of the day of the board meeting, which then stacks a bunch of municipalities against each other. And so Mondays and Tuesdays, there's tons of notes and bonds being sold in the market for local government. The intent is for this to allow the sale to occur on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, when there's more market interest. But in order to do that, you're delegating authority to somebody like myself and one other person to be determined later to execute that sale outside of the village board. But the parameters then become, what is the issue size? And I would obviously say, do not make it any more than what you've seen in front of you or what we bring to you on June 1st. But things could cause it to be reduced. Something could happen tomorrow and we decide to pull a plug on a project. You'd want me to be able to do that. Maximum, minimum bids, this just keeps the people bidding on this in line with what we're expecting. We don't want more money than we're asking for because that leads into challenges with red tape from arbitrage and things like that. And we also don't want less than what we are asking for. That means we have to come out of pocket. That's what these two numbers mean. A true interest rate, we don't want it to be any higher than that. If the market comes back saying, it's more than 2.5, which is really much, much lower than this right now. It's more in the ones. But we would set what we think that would be. And if it's higher than that, we would just say, no, thank you, no sale. And then this last one is rarely would happen, but we could move around money in the repayment schedule from one year to the next. I've never done that in the 19 years I've been here. So I doubt that any of this is going to come to light, but that's what the parameters would be. It's not giving me authority to go run crazy and borrow $40 million. It's a strategic move to save interest costs. So that's what this is really about. I wanted to get in front of you. If you folks said no thank you at all, we're not interested, or give me more information. But what will happen is Dave Ferris, who you've talked to before or seen before, will bring a resolution if the board's interested in this approach, and you will take action at the next meeting. You don't have to if you choose not to, based on discussions with him. So it's really kind of open-ended. I just thought I'd get this in front of you since it was new to you folks and new to me, really.
Thank you, Steve. Do we have questions for Steve at this point? I have to wait for my eyes to settle when the boxes move. Bill?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it. Let's, if Steve's comfortable, let's give it a shot, see how it works, and maybe this is a new way of doing things.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have comments or questions? Steve?
A thought on who else would sign off, basically? You want it to be a trustee? Do you want it to be Wonderful Lou? And there might be some questions of Dave on that, but that resolution should probably identify who those people would be.
Okay, I think we should, but I think, where'd Al go? He's over on the other side now.
It may be Al.
Yeah, it may be. But I was going to ask, are there any legalities that should be considered when selecting who that other person is? I mean, as village president, I have some capacity to sign some things. As legal person, you might be a good choice. So do you have any thoughts?
I think it probably should be an official of the village. I don't know anything about finance, but somebody that probably a board member would be the most logical choice, whether it's you or some other board member.
Okay, all right. Comments, questions? Jim?
Do we have a treasurer?
No.
The village?
Steve.
Steve is
Steve.
too.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
We do have a deputy treasurer.
Lou, yeah.
Gillian. I hesitate that's a lot of burden to put on somebody that probably hasn't been that involved in this type of thing. She's heard nothing about this, so I wouldn't want to put that on her.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, we can figure it out. Abby, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest maybe Jane be our second person to sign off on it.
Okay.
That's to me.
All right.
I
Holly?
would second that, Jane. I think it's good to have somebody from staff and somebody from the board. I like that.
Okay. All right. We have Abby's kind of nomination to Shidra.
I would like to hear more information and just get a little bit more, a more robust understanding of what's going on. I'm not a finance person, so just even looking at that document was a little bit gibberish for me. And so I do believe that, Steve or a person in that position, right? Because we know Steve won't be with us forever, unfortunately, because I really do value you being here. I do think a finance person should be there because, math is very complicated. And then when you're dealing with large numbers of dollars and cents, you definitely want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence and spending that money or saving that money wisely. And then I also do think that, someone from the board, prudently, I would think the president, because the president is overseeing so much and has their hands in so much. And so they would be able to relay that information, but then they also represent the board and they were, elected in that position. So that's just in summation. I'd like to know a little bit more, even if I'm not the point person. I'd definitely like to have a good understanding of it. And then I would support the president being that second sign off person so that we have a balance of staff, which is on the ground doing the work and really knowing the minutia of what's going on, but then the support of the president who was elected by the village to represent accordingly. So that's all I had to say about that.
Thank you, Tashidra. Rebecca?
Yeah, I would concur with Tashidra. I would like a little bit more of a robust explanation of how this thing actually works. I'm grasping it loosely, but it's a new concept. And when I saw it, and with my situation right this second. I hadn't had time to ask anybody about it. So I really would appreciate that same kind of explanation.
Sure. Okay. All right. So Steve, do you want us to make a decision on the second person tonight?
I think I've heard enough. We'll put you
Okay.
in there, Jane. And
All right.
again, Dave will be here next meeting, not here, virtually here, and be able to explain this clearer than I, or a second time sometimes helps. So, and then he'll have more of his schedules to share and walk through, and they're just not prepared at this point.
Great. You did a good job, Steve. And it is a first introduction of a new concept for a lot of us who haven't had extreme experience in finance. So thank you. Abby, I see your hand up.
I was just gonna suggest, like, for, you know, with the explanation part, if Steve or Dave could go into, like, what's our usual process, and then what's this new process being proposed? That might help too, because I mean, especially the new process is new to everybody, so I think doing that helpful.
So good comparison. Thank you. Tashidra.
I just wanted to add, Steve, one last comment. Thank you for thinking outside of the box and really trying to keep us ahead of the game, which ultimately trickles down to each and every resident being taken care of. So I just wanted to say that this is a new concept and we always want to know more, but I wanted to give credit and light to the fact that this is thinking outside of the box and we're in a new age, and it is incredibly reassuring that the administrators and the people that are working are trying to keep us ahead of the game and making sure that we're doing our best for our constituents. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, good job. Thanks, Steve.
Mhm.
All right, and just on that note, I don't know if all of you know how much Steve's been working lately, but it's a lot. I mean, I've had weeks where every single night we're in meetings or he's in meetings, and then he's going all day long, and lots of new concepts, lots of new development, lots of exciting things happening in the village that we can all be proud of. But a lot of that, he's in the swirl in the middle of it, and we appreciate that. All right, moving on to presentation. There are no ordinances, so presentation of resolutions. 10.1, Resolution 2021-049, a resolution acknowledging the DeForest Area Community and Senior Center accreditation accomplishment. All right, is Barb?
She's not here. This is, she just asked for this to be approved.
Okay, has everybody seen it? Does Tashidra or Abby have comments or?
Yeah, I wasn't there for like the whole accreditation process, but I imagine it was a lot of work. And I do know from being a volunteer there and now joining their commission, which I'm really excited about. I went to my first meeting a couple weeks ago, that they do work really hard and they provide a very important service to our community. Our center takes care of a very valued part of our population, which is also sometimes very vulnerable. So I'm very appreciative of the services they provide and the hard work that they did for the accreditation process.
Thank you, Abby. Have you all had a chance to read the resolution? And I would entertain a motion to approve.
I like to motion to approve. Motion to approve. I'll second. Colleen, you can have first place.
Colleen made the motion, Tashidra seconded. All those in favor? Any further discussion? See, I'm tongue-tied.
I just want to add that this accreditation is huge for our community and definitely for the senior center. They worked hard. And I also want to just reiterate that the reviewers of the application was very impressed with the senior center staff and what they put together. So I fully support this because they worked hard, and I think getting into the habit of celebrating the successes will only bring more success. So That's why I second it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, with that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. It is a big accomplishment. All right, 10.2, Resolution 2021-050, a resolution approving an agreement between the Village of DeForest and reporting for duty for advertising space in the dog park. Reese, help me.
Hey, you did it right. That was definitely the name. We're very excited. This is actually the group that I had talked to about everyone in COW at the last meeting, providing a new opportunity that still falls underneath our current policies and ordinances. So they were very excited when I gave them the green light that we were able to go forward, and they're a local company and really happy to support DeForest. So if you have any questions, happy to answer any questions, but this is basically as all of our other sponsorship policies fall.
Okay. So questions for Reese? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Bill.
Second, Tashidra.
We have a motion by Bill, a second by Tashidra. Further discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving forward. We did 10.3. 10.4 is a resolution 2021-052, a resolution approving a certified survey map dividing 30.98 acres, including parcels 0910-193-9740-1 and 0910-302-2675-1 into two lots, two outlots, a right-of-way, and a right-of-way for the realignment of River Road and a new Magnolia Drive. Brandy.
Hi. So this CSM was recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission on May 10th. It is like the long tongue-tied title says. Mostly it's for the realignment of River Road. So I don't know if Al has anything that he would like to add to that.
No, other than that, approving the resolution and the recording of the CSM will then dedicate those new areas to the public for roadway purposes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I would entertain a motion to approve.
Abby, so moved.
Abby made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Bill. Further discussion, questions or comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. 10.5, we're not going to take up tonight. It's not quite ready, so it'll be on a future agenda. 10.6, Resolution 2021-055, a resolution approving a memorandum of agreement in the Community Development Authority of the Village of DeForest. Michelle.
Again, this resolution is to approve the attached memorandum of agreement with the CDA, which the CDA passed at its meeting on the 11th of May. So the agreement enables the CDA to contract with the village for services as it has in the previous agreement. The real difference here is that the CDA is requesting to contract with the village to make the two CDA employees eligible for village employees for their benefits and salaries. So the cost of this, the benefits and salaries will be on the CDA, but it enables the employees to be included under the benefit structure of the village. And it's anticipated that on or before June 30th of this year, the CDA will request a more comprehensive agreement with some more details. But the agreement tonight is to enable these employees to begin under the village structure June 1st.
Okay. Steve, did you want to add anything to that at all?
No.
Okay.
You're asking.
One of the reasons we're saying June 30th for the more detailed agreement is we're working on the CDA budget, and we're having some analysis done, and so we'll have better information on the housing side of the equation, we hope, by June 30th. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve, and then we can get into discussion.
I move that we approve the motion as it stands.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Abby, second.
We have a second by Abby. Is there any discussion or comment? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. You've made two gentlemen very, very happy.
Thank you.
All right. 10.7, a resolution accepting the lowest qualified bids and awarding a contract for construction of Sunfish Pond parking lot. Judd or Greg?
Yep, so information was in your packet for you all. As Steve touched on earlier, the bids came in a little higher than we had originally anticipated. We had itemized out some of those differentials, setting that up for future expansion in the park with some water mains that would extend to a building that were maybe built there in the future. And then it's a larger parking lot as well. And that's a very high visibility, high use park for us. So every time I've driven by since the old parking lot's out, their cars are packed in there and they're parking up on the new Bellflower Court, right? So it's constantly in use, and I think it'll further enhance that with this newer parking lot. So
Great. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second, Bill.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussions or questions or comments? Rebecca?
Just a quick question. How much difference was there between what we were anticipating with what was actually came in as the lowest bid? Do you remember?
the difference is between, we had budgeted 120,000 and we came in at 179. So the variance is 59,000.
Okay.
But as I said, that's adding that water line in there, and then we have more fill that's needed to bring that parking lot up to grade.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Jim Simpson.
I was just gonna add, with my job, it's not a lot of public works type bidding too. It's not uncommon to be off that much, especially in today's date with a lot of different COVID things and restriction on materials and stuff. So
Thank you. Good comment. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thanks.
All right. 10.8, Resolution 2021-057, a resolution authorizing the village president and clerk to execute a development agreement with CAH Company DeForest LLC for public infrastructure improvements within Phase 4 of Fox Hill Estates. Al, you're on.
This is a fairly standard development agreement. Hooper's moving into their residential phase of their development. That involves some street and utility improvements, and anytime public improvements are included in a development agreement is required that sets out the terms on how that's going to be done, and inspections, that type of thing. So that's what this agreement is about.
Okay, it was in our packet. Questions, Abby?
just had a question about page 3 of the agreement. I don't think it says on there, but I just wanted to clarify my memory. Is that residential development mostly townhomes? Am I remembering correctly?
I can't answer that. I think it's single family homes, but Brandy or maybe Steve could help with that.
I think they're all single family homes.
Is there a different, I thought I remember them talking about townhomes. Is that a different part of that, part of their overall development? Or did they?
Yeah.
There's still one large lot left that hasn't been designed yet, and that's the lot they were talking about doing potentially a townhome concept on.
Okay, thank you.
Hang on, please. So this is the area. So here's 5119. This is the area that's single family. This is the area you're thinking of the townhouses.
I think that's lot 75.
77.
7, yeah.
77.
So this is tonight. This will be the future.
Yep. That's right.
Thanks for that clarification. That made it good.
All right, any other questions?
I make a motion to approve the resolution.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Was the second Rebecca or Abby?
Yes, Rebecca. Sorry.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, 10.9, a resolution 2021-059, a resolution accepting a Wisconsin Department of Transportation Bureau of Traffic Safety Speed Enforcement Grant Award. Chief.
Yep. Good evening. So this is, unfortunately, it's not as cool as Reese's title. This is reporting for traffic duty, but this allows us an overtime opportunity for staff members to get involved in a task force throughout Dane County. This is an annual thing that we get involved with. The primary target is speeding, with secondary being alcohol violations and seatbelt use. This also kind of goes into the data-driven strategy we're going to be rolling out, and that I'll be briefing you on here in coming meetings. Present it to you for approval.
Thank you. So tonight you'd like approval of this resolution though?
Yes, please.
All right. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you,
Second
Bill.
by Tesidra.
Second by Tashidra. Any further discussion or questions? Jim?
Chief, I have a question. I think I already know the answer, but I'm assuming you're going to be enforcing speed limits on Highway 51.
The Highway 51 and Highway 19 are designated by DOT as the primary targets. However, if we are out there and there's not enough traffic for us to quantify it, there is a level of activity expected and we can use other roads.
So I apologize for this comment. I do appreciate all the work you're doing, but I also know that Highway 51 was designed as a 70-mile-per-hour road and it's only marked at 55. So I don't feel like I can support doing this resolution myself.
Who marks it, the state or us?
State.
Well, to speak with them about that.
I have.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Aye or nay.
All right. Motion carries, recognizing that Jim voted no. All right. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
check register, we don't need to deal with. Committee, commission, and board reports. The minutes were in your packets for review. Administrators report, staff report on public affairs. Steve, you're laughing.
Nothing,
All right, what did I do this time?
nothing.
That's probably the problem. All right. 13.2, update regarding DeForest area.
Can I ask a quick question? Being new, I just, it's a curious question for me. I noticed some of the dates on here are from back in September. Is there a reason why it's from that far back? Like on the police commission minutes? I'm just
They
curious.
don't meet very regularly, so it can take a while for their minutes to be approved.
Okay. I had a feeling it was probably what it was, but I wasn't sure. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. All right. Moving forward, update regarding DeForest Area Library, Bill.
All kinds of things happening at our friendly library. Summer reading program kicked off last Saturday. Hopefully everybody's signed up for that. We have a new adult librarian. Miss Aaron takes over from Jane Hensey that retired. Concerts are gearing up that the library is sponsoring, and with cooperation for their nearby businesses that are affected. We tried this last year and it was very successful. The businesses see the value in these mini concerts to draw people down, and it kind of goes into Michelle's economic impact. It brings people down for an event and say they might stop at Aranda's or Norsky Nook or wherever and spend some money and enjoy a show. The annual meeting's coming up in June meeting. We're going to be electing officers, president, treasurer, such. Also, they are talking about a post-pandemic strategy and what do patrons expect, or does anything change when, say, after June 2nd, when you don't have to have masks anymore? What do people want to keep the same? What do they want to change? So I suggested a simple survey, a 3-question and a 4th question with a big box for any comments. Throw that in a library book, and then when you return the library, you return the survey. And it's just a simple thing, seeing what people want, what they're comfortable with in this changing environment, and they're going to go forward with it. And I think it'll be very beneficial. But a lot of stuff happening, a lot of good stuff.
Great, thanks, Bill. DeForest Area Community and Senior Center, Abigail.
Yeah, so we met approximately 2 weeks ago. Great group of people. That was actually the first time that they've met in person, because before that, I think it was over the phone or something. So everybody kind of felt like new, and adjusting to new things along with me. I guess the 2 big things that happened, there'll be more happening at our next meeting in June, but the 2 big things in the meeting 2 weeks ago was we started discussions on a proposed 2022 budget. I can't really say much about it yet because that was, I think, mostly closed session, but I think more of it will be an open session next time. And then the other thing was we discussed a possible employee handbook update, basically making the expectation that any staff that work there would get vaccinated to protect, the vulnerable population that uses the center. And they would have the option of of an exemption for medical reasons or religious reasons.
Interesting.
That's about it.
All right.
Question, Abby, can you say that last part again that you
So-
shared?
So we discussed a possible, we didn't vote on it, just discussing a possible update to the employee handbook. Trying to find the document, but it was basically saying that staff that work at the center would be required to be vaccinated for COVID, but they would have a medical or religious exemption possible if they need it.
Okay.
As part of their employment.
And if they don't get vaccinated, are they required to wear a mask or anything or take precautions?
I think we talked about, so it hasn't been approved yet, so we're still in discussions, but we were talking about like that they would be on unpaid leave while certain things get figured out. They would also have the option of, this is the proposal, that they would have the option of coming to a commission meeting as kind of to appeal any kind of decision if they, but I think Barb
I
said
would-
she didn't think it would be.
I would just throw out an air of caution because these vaccines are
Experimental.
probationary and they haven't gone through the historical steps with the FDA and different things of that nature. And with HIPAA being protected health information, I would really tread lightly. I mean, I know that they're able to force that and do that with nurses, but I don't know if that's across the board for lay people and different things of that nature. So I would just encourage someone to do their due diligence and checking out. I mean, I think the last thing they need is a lawsuit or something that just makes it worse for them, because these are uncharted territories and you don't necessarily have to get the COVID vaccine. And if you do, you don't necessarily have to disclose either. That is something that we've been talking about in various healthcare entities, especially in home care, because a lot of patients are requiring nurses to get vaccine and they can't, right? Like they just can't force that. And we just made a blanket decision that we would say it is protected health information and we are doing our due diligence to keep you safe and we're following all of our company's protocols for that. So I just offer that out there because you don't want to put someone in an undue situation legally, ethically, but also financially over something that isn't universal right now in the United States.
Yeah, I can
Thank
ask,
you,
but
Tisha.
it sounded like she got legal advice. She consulted with someone, so I don't.
Also, you might want to take into consideration, there are people that have had COVID that have natural immunity now that that aren't necessarily required to get that vaccine.
Well,
And that needs to be taken into account.
Thank you, Abby, for the report. And I think the suggestions are important, but relying on medical professionals and legal professionals to help through that decision is important. All right, Community Development Authority. We dealt with kind of two major areas. One was the resolution and the decision to ask the village board to employ our two employees, Ron and Zach. And two, we also dealt with the development of a study, contracting with Mark Roffers to do a study for our redevelopment authority side of the equation. So I think those were the two primary ones. We reviewed or received a briefing on CDA and economic development chapters of the comp plan. So that was, I think, our meeting. Any other, Rebecca, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on. DeForest, Windsor Fire and EMS, clean.
Well, my notes from our meeting on the 5th don't show that we did anything all that spectacular. Still doing the math on a second station. There is a conference in St. Louis. I'm not sure when that is. That we, on building a new station, new fire stations that we thought maybe the chief should go to. And they're working on setting up a nice professional email account. And I think that was about it, unless you have something, Jane.
No, I think those are most of it. We are having discussions, and we are at some point going to bring a presentation to the board for discussion on the second fire station, but that's a continuing discussion. So somebody else doesn't like it. We have someone commenting. All right. Under President's Report, Dane County Cities and Villages update. Steve, you want to add anything? We had our annual meeting. We got briefed on electronic meetings.
It was riveting, Jane. Riveting. It was an hour-long discussion about how to handle a virtual meeting. And I believe Jane shared the information with our attorney, and our attorney is saying, nope, that's not right. But anyway, he can comment if he wants, but it's like a year into this plus, and now we're learning how to do a virtual meeting properly. But it did cross into this hybrid that we probably won't have either. So I don't know. I will have a hybrid, but anyway, we were advised properly, and Lou set us up properly, and you all took part in the meetings the way we believe they should be.
Thank you. That was the same meeting I attended, so that was good.
Wasn't it riveting?
Yeah, riveting would hardly describe it. Yeah, Bill? You're muted, Bill.
Just kind of going off that, in the future at the village level, a long time ago, when a member couldn't attend a meeting, they weren't allowed to participate, and then they were allowed to call in. Now Rebecca's in Virginia right now enjoying the sunshine, and are we gonna maybe think about having that option forever? Are we gonna have Zoom? I know it's kind of getting off topic, but are we gonna allow somewhat of a hybrid at our own level in the future? I think, look at what can be made possible. So say I go to North Carolina, I could be like Rebecca, in August. And the new way has opened up a lot of different possibilities, and uncharted territory that some's going to be very good.
Thank you. We have talked about it, and we'll continue to talk about how we can approach and make that happen. So thank you. Appointments, there's 2 appointments tonight I have before you, and they're both the same person, Jean Manchesky, for ETZ Burke and ETZ Vienna. So as I work my way through the appointments, we're getting there, guys. I would ask I need approval, so I would ask for a motion to.
I'll make a motion to approve Jean to the 2 ETZs.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Abby
I'll
says.
second.
Abby beat you, Bill. So we have a motion.
By
and a-
Jim, by the way.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Colleen, were you just adjusting, or did you have a question?
No, that's where my mute button is.
Okay. I just didn't want to miss a question. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
All right, and the next item under my report is a special village board meeting, June 29th. We have had lots of questions about a lot of different things. We have new board members, we have operating procedures, we have a gazillion projects going on around the village. And in talking with Steve and Al and Lou and others, and Michelle and all of the number of staff, we decided it would be a good idea to dedicate a full meeting to Q&A, to have staff there, department heads, to present what's going on, give us a chance to ask the questions that people want to ask. I would like to invite others like P&Z to attend. And Jim, I put a call into you, but we haven't connected yet. But I'd like to talk about that. I would like to ask any CDA members that want to attend. I think it's important that we talk about things and that we discuss the projects and bring our questions forward and talk about potential issues and how we're going to operate. So I am hopeful that all of you will be able to attend on the 29th. It's a unusual month. It's a five-week month, so we get an extra Tuesday. So we can fill that night. Tashidra's smiling at me. Yeah. Find an opportunity, Jane. Yep. So are there questions about that? Abby.
Yeah, I was just wondering, is this like, is there going to be certain topics that our questions need to fall under, or is it very open that we can just come up, like bring any questions that we have to the meeting? I guess I was just wondering.
Both. And I would encourage you, if you have questions that you're going to ask, to let us know in advance so that we have the right staff people and the answers to those questions or materials, so we don't have to get back to you. So I encourage any of you who have questions, need information, whether it's on TIFs or it's on projects or it's on process or finances of the village. I mean, the spectrum is broad. To send those questions to us so that we can prepare for it. I appreciate that department heads will be putting in extra time to help with this, but we think it's important. Rebecca?
Couple questions. First off, who should be the funnel for putting the question to, and then they can funnel it?
If you send them to me, I will get them to the right people.
Okay. The other question is, I'm assuming from the description, this is just for the village board and the staff and village heads and stuff like that. Is that correct? Or is this also open to the public? Or
it is an open meeting. It doesn't mean they get to participate, but we have to post because we have a quorum.
Got it. Okay. So it'll be in person and it'll be where they can watch what's going on.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Tashidra?
I just had a question about the sending in of questions. Is it possible to have those questions tabulated and shared? Because I'm pretty sure if one person has the question, multiple people have the question, and I would want to avoid burdening the staff with answering, and then they're sounding like, they work for AT&T and they need to reach out and touch everyone. So you like that one?
Yeah,
I've been saving that.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if we could do that. I think that
Sure.
would be helpful and even a great document for new people coming in, kind of like a rolling FAQ, if you will.
Yep. Good idea, Tashidra. We'll work on that. Other questions? Steve?
Well, I'm thinking categorical too, if there's areas, and the earlier you can get us things on categories or areas, the better, the more equipped we can be in getting the team. I also let the outside consultant group, which are really our staff, that they should be on hand possibly too, because they hold a lot of information on how we do things and why. And I think it'll be awesome. We just need to know what to target, because if we need to make this up and present it to you, I don't think it'll come across the way we intend. We want to know what you're thinking about. And create that interaction at that meeting.
Okay, good. Other questions? Jim?
Just what time are you thinking is the question?
I would like to start at 5 because I think this is going to go a while, and I turn into a pumpkin about 9:30, so I'd like to start early enough that people can spend the evening and get some answers. We'll be in person, so maybe we can get sandwiches or something brought in so that we know people can stay and not be trying to figure out how to eat. So, Lou?
Yeah, just a thought on that. If it'd be nice to know that we do actually have a quorum. So if you could possibly email me and let me know that you can attend. And then based on the food thing, if you have food allergies, let me know that as well. So I'm not bringing things that's going to make people ill.
I only eat food that makes me taller. So if you can handle that, let me know. I shrunk another ½ inch, guys, so I'm not too happy. All right.
Just one caveat that you do have to post notice for all of the different bodies that are going to be present. So if the plan commission members are going to be there, somebody needs to let Lou Ann know who's coming from what group, so that they can all post it.
Yeah, good.
Al, question on that, since it's really just no action is going to occur, I'm assuming, could it just be a quorum notice with all the different committees, commissions, boards, and leave it at that?
Yep.
Yep.
Good. All right. So categories, questions, issues, processes, all of those areas. Jim, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just for me, I'm coming back from a week-long vacation, 10 o'clock Sunday, so it's gonna be tough and hard on my work schedule too. But I guess I'm just questioning if there's gonna be reading involved before this meeting too, so I'll know to pull it down during my vacation because I won't probably have time when I get back.
I'm not anticipating a lot of prep work. So, and frankly, I would say, Jim, that you have probably good background in some of the processes. And so I think you'll be okay. We'll try not to plague you at all while you're on vacation.
I will be. That'll be work though too.
Okay. All right. With that, I would ask if there are any other matters to come before this board. Abby?
I just have a request, and it might already be planned, but at our next meeting, I'm not sure if it'd be a separate agenda item or if it'd fall under administrative report, but just wondering what the protocol, or if there's going to be any protocol at Village Hall now that, there's a change with the Dane County Health Order. And it sounds like just from what I read in a news article today, it sounds like they're getting rid of a lot of requirements and just having recommendations. And I was just curious. And so, like, I guess basically putting the decision-making in, different businesses or entities' hands. And so I was just curious what we were thinking, or if it's just kind of going back to, I guess, life pre-COVID. I don't know. So I was just curious about that. So
my sense is we're trying to go back as much as possible to life pre-COVID, but also recognizing the value of cleanliness and that sort of thing. So we'll be cautious, but I think we're recommending kind of going back to no mask, and if we social distance, we can't meet together. So we're going to come back as a board in our boardroom, probably not socially distanced. So
On the 15th.
On the 15th, yes. All right. Thank you. Well, guys, I would entertain.
Motion to adjourn?
Oh,
Yes.
second, so
third, fourth.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. I always appreciate your willingness to stay